Good morning. Welcome to SEC Basketball Reaction. It is a whirlwind of activity around here. We just finished previews. We got recaps from games last night we didn't talk about. We got me going to do baseball and football when we're done with this. We got all kinds of stuff going on. Among the things going on, we got the Razorbacks getting hot. We got Georgia getting a big win. Blake and Max disrespect the Bulldogs. That doesn't mean I have to as well. We got a lot of basketball to talk about. Got big games this weekend. We talked about Tennessee, Missouri last night. We may even bring that one up again. But Max Barr, let's start with the Razorbacks. Maybe the story in college basketball this week, going and taking down a red-hot Texas team at home. That game got close at the end. Arkansas had, a 20-point lead much of the night? I mean, Arkansas just went into Austin and owned Texas most of the night, which is creating a really interesting scenario as Arkansas has suddenly played its way onto the NCAA tournament bubble as we are sitting in the first week of February.
Yeah, I just sent Blake a post that I want to bring up from our main guy, JC Hoops, resident Arkansas beat. This is some fantastic stuff. But before we do that, yeah, Chris, the bubble is most certainly where these Razorbacks are. Just 2 weeks ago, the analytics gave them near a nothing chance to make the tournament. Right now, floating right under 50%, more like a 40-ish, maybe high 30s. But when just a week ago I was saying there's a pulse to the Razorbacks postseason hopes. Oh man, that is most certainly picking up some momentum.
Well, those hopes are going to continue as long as Johnson says here, please don't start picking Arkansas. As long as we don't start picking the Hogs, things will continue on nicely probably for the Razorbacks. But, yeah, I mean, another great win. We talked about how high we were on Texas and the way they'd been playing. Arkansas said, not so fast, my friend. They go in there, get a big win over the Longhorns. And, again, it wasn't just – if you didn't watch the game, you're like, all right, Arkansas won by 8. But they were dominating that game. I mean, they're up, 23 at one point, I think. Yeah, just took it to them. And I think that was the impressive part of this whole thing. You knew Texas would make a run to make it interesting down the stretch. But, yeah, I mean, it was the combination of good offense and good defense. What do you know? In basketball, if you have good offense and good defense, that's going to take you a long way. And like we said, it just seemed like Arkansas had just been missing one or the other at times this season. Mostly it was, the offensive frustrations we talked about. But now, all of a sudden you look up, this team scored 78 or more points in back-to-back games. And so, yeah, I think that is certainly something. But the biggest story coming out of this, period. There's no other way to put it. The biggest story.
Really?
Well, I guess I was gonna actually tell you guys you have to subscribe to get the answer, but Chris he said, no, I'm just going to tell you the answer for free. So, man, we're trying to sell memberships here. We're going to put it behind a paywall, but no, we don't have a breaking news paywall here. Yeah, it is Davis. I mean, this guy now 18, 18, and 24. 3 straight games. He has been the man offensively, and it's not just that. I think it's taking it a step further by talking about just the 3-point element for a team that we said teams probably were daring to shoot the ball not that long ago. But now with this guy getting confident, you let him get hot, all of a sudden that opens up a different dynamic for this offense. And, yeah, I mean, my goodness, the Hogs are back, baby. They're back.
Yeah, he had not scored 18 points in a game all year. He's gone last 3 games, 18, 18, 24. Previous season high was 15. Average 18 a game last year at FAU. We all know about the Final Four run 2 years ago. There's the difference between a team that caught fire and a team that is changing what it is. And Arkansas fits the definition in the latter here.
Yeah, in the preview, I said I'm looking directly at that matchup at the 4 between Kaluma and Thiero, and whoever wins that matchup probably wins the game. Well, those two kind of battled it out, and both had pretty decent games. Kaluma didn't hit any threes, 0 for 3, but did end up having a double-double. Where the main difference was in the matchups was it was on the wing, where Tremont Mark probably has one of the worst games in the past 2 years. I can't remember Tremont Mark having a game that quiet in the past 2 years. And then you look at where Arkansas got their production off the wing. Gardner Knox continues to improve. You even had Billy Richmond out there. He only played 9 minutes, but it felt like it was a huge 9 minutes. I felt like Billy was out there longer than 9 minutes last night. Maybe all 9 came in the second half or something like that, but I felt like he was in there making some big-time plays. It was all the 50-50 balls. It was like Knox, Richmond, even Wagner. Like, these guys are – Thiero has just been the consistent guy, but now everyone else is kind of taking after that personality, and they're playing tough.
All right. Let me get this for you.
Yes.
All right, here we go.
Check this out.
I think I remember this one.
Oh.
Goodness.
Young man. Ooh. Watch this. Oh, my.
Oh, my gosh.
You watch it again? Let's watch it again.
Let's watch it one more time.
Oh, my goodness.
Boom.
Wow. He did it again. Look at that. Wow. Yeah, that's when you know you're feeling it, right? Like, that's when you know you're back. And so I think that is quite a that was something. Sam. Always Sam, just saying something. That's tremendous. Just quickly here, a little sidebar. Just announce this for anyone who didn't see it last night. Sam, the other Sam here, like we got multiple Sams, of course. What's the watch-along game on Saturday? So, Sam, the initial thought was that if Missouri won at Tennessee, it was going to be Missouri and Texas A&M. However, it is going to be Auburn and Florida. It's going to be the watch-along on Saturday. Top 7, 8 matchup, whatever it is. So we went with that one. And also, our watch-along window for a Missouri-Texas A&M game may have to, maybe like an all-day type thing. So, given the number of free throws that could be shot in that game. So, we did go Auburn and Florida for the watch-along on Saturday.
Can we have a Big Z conversation, too? Because he was, one point off a double-double, blocked 4 shots, has been picking up pretty consistent minutes for them. He feels like a big part of what's going right for Arkansas, too.
Absolutely. We've talked about that. I felt like in recent these past couple games, we're like, if this guy, him and Davis, what are they adding? Like, they're adding the element of somebody just being able to step out and make shots. And I think that's where, that's a big part of this, because we said earlier in the season, if you just looked at Arkansas's numbers, and remember, it was like they had that one game, who was it, against Maryland Eastern Shore, where they came out and made 15 threes. But then you look at sort of everything else around that, and you're like, 5 of 15, 6 of 24, 7 of 24. And remember, too, it wasn't just the numbers. It was what they were doing against good teams, right? Like, look at the games they've lost this season. The 25% against Baylor, 29% against Illinois, 21% against Tennessee, 22% against Ole Miss, 18% or 19% against Florida, 22% against Missouri. It's just a complete element of the game that was just removed for them, where they just were not able to get any consistent offense from 3. Meanwhile, you look at some of those other teams they're losing against, they're knocking down 10, 12 threes left and right. And so now that you have a Big Z, who we know, one of the strengths of him as a 7'2" guy is the ability for him to step out and make shots. And we talked about Davis kind of surging in that regard. But also, I think Big Z defensively. And we said, too, like, Arkansas's defensive numbers this year have never really been that bad. It's just, that's what was probably just the most frustrating thing for Arkansas fans, was like, hey, we're playing some good defense at times. We're giving ourselves a shot. We just don't have that next gear offensively. So if you get the double with Big Z, where he's out feeling a little bit more confident about his offensive game, and then he's able to block shots, rebound, do those things, yeah, that's why this team is making a run right now.
Well, the other thing is Cal's going back to the thing you did at Kentucky, where he plays his starters and maybe one other guy as much as humanly possible. You look at the minutes last night, and you look at the minutes the game before. I mean, he's playing these guys all 35 minutes except for Thiero, who fouled out in 22 minutes, or he would have played more. So that's something that you're seeing develop very similar to what he was doing at Kentucky.
Yeah, while you guys were talking, I was trying to find news on Jonas Adou. It looks like Cal said on a radio show 2 days ago that Adou isn't all the way healthy, but we'll need him to step up when his number's called. So it seems like where Davis is completely left that injury in the rearview mirror, Adou is still really struggling with his injury. Barely plays last night. How about that block, though, at the end there? Big Z on Shedrick on the dunk. That was not a foul. You never see me come on here and complain about individual fouls, but I thought that was just, it's not so often you see a clean block on a two-handed slam attempt. And I thought Arkansas got a little bit unlucky with the whistle there in that second half. Texas kind of pushing the envelope there, trying to come back, drawing a little bit more contact. I think Arkansas was in the bonus at like 1 minute left. Texas was in the bonus, felt like 1 minute into the second half. So there was that dynamic that Arkansas held off. But also, how about this stat? Razorbacks win back-to-back road quad one games for the first time since 2021.
Nice.
Been a few years since they've gone back-to-back on the road against quality competition.
On the road. Okay.
On the road.
Okay.
Yep, back-to-back quad one road games. Been a while since they've, come back to Fayetteville 2-0 after a trip.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Arkansas and back in Fayetteville, yeah, I mean, now it's like we said, that their percentages are going up in terms of their NCAA tournament hopes. Still a long way to go, I think, in terms of, it's a long season the rest of the way in this SEC landscape. And it starts to, with Saturday against Alabama. The Tide come to town. Alabama, one of the hottest teams in the country, one of the best teams in the country right now. And then they turn around and, get LSU next Wednesday, the rematch, the revenge game against the Tigers. So, I mean, talk about a big game. And we, by the way, just so you guys know, we've already previewed and made our predictions for Arkansas and Alabama, just as we have Missouri, Texas A&M, and Auburn, Florida. Those videos are not up yet. They will be up today. But so you can't bribe us with your picks right now, because we've already made our picks.
They want to know. They want to know.
Oh, I know they want to know, but we're not revealing them until the videos come out. I will say we differed on something in one of those games, but that's your spoiler alert. But yeah, so I mean, it's a big one. Like, this is a huge game for Arkansas against Alabama. Can they keep it going? We'll find out. But nonetheless, back-to-back wins over NCAA tournament teams. Georgia's a tournament team right now, so that adds a little bit to your resume. So they're trending in the right direction. Would they be in today? No, but they're closer. They're closer. And you just got to – this is where, okay, you've got a couple here, right? Back-to-back ones. Now you guys just got to find a few more of those somewhere along the way. Win the games you're supposed to win. Got to beat LSU. Got to beat South Carolina. Win those games, and then find a couple more somewhere. And then I think if you're Arkansas, you're feeling pretty good about yourself heading into the SEC tournament. So,
I know it pains Blake to admit that Georgia might be good, but can we talk about the Bulldogs?
Here we go.
Nice. That was a great setup. That was a good setup.
Max, who almost had a triple-double last night? Do you know? Anybody?
Robert knows.
Robert
knows. Go Dogs,
Robert,
baby.
Can you get some more of your Georgia fans in here? Because
Robert,
we need a little bit more of a.
I'm trying to.
Chris
talk
needs
your
somebody
team
to
up.
join him on the
guys,
Georgia bandwagon.
They can't see what I see.
What do you see, Chris?
I see a team that's solid, that can defend. It's got an ace of Newell. It's got a blue Cain. It's got a lot of guards. They get lost.
Chris, who's your favorite player in the history of college basketball?
Blue Cain.
I thought you were going to say Ace of Newell, because
maybe
I've never heard anybody say Ace of Newell more than you. It's not even his own family says Ace of Newell as much as you, but he is. He's tremendous, isn't he? Look at the plus minuses. I put that out the other day. What was it? It was from College Basketball Reference. I think Broom is 1, Grill is 2, Ace of Newell's 3 on the year. Player efficiency ratings.
Wow.
How about that? Think about that company you're in. Yeah.
Guys, what was the I'm drawing a blank now and I can't filter the stats by half, but the rebounding. Remember we were on the live stream last night and I was like, rebounding numbers at halftime are, I'm going to butcher this, guys.
25 to 8.
Numbers. It was something like that. Yeah, it was
something like that.
It's like 25, 24 to 8 or something like that. The physicality in the first half was just as one-sided as I had seen it for Georgia. Mr. Chest didn't have an offensive rebound. I think the scouting report is out. Got to box out number 11 in purple. Tough game for LSU, but I think it says more about the way that Georgia plays at home. Guys, Georgia now at home. We understand the offensive limitations of this team on the road. I don't think they've scored 70 on the road in conference play yet. However, at home, man, they've been tough. They only lost by 2 to an Auburn team that didn't have Broom, but it's still an Auburn team. Beat Oklahoma, beat Kentucky by 13. This is a tough place to play, Athens. This is a tough place to play.
Can Georgia win all their remaining home games? Because that's really all they have to do to make the tournament. Mississippi State, Missouri, Florida, Vanderbilt.
Missouri's going to be tough. Ooh, Florida's going to be tough.
What if they drop one?
Well, then all you have to do is go win that game at South Carolina, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're in at that point.
I don't think would be easy, but yeah, I think that's what's interesting. Like Max said, they've been good at home, and so, but like we started SEC play saying that the teams that just can win their games at home, you can go out and have trouble scoring on the road. But if you just win your home games, and I think, look, it's a different conversation, right? If we're saying, all right, what's Georgia's ceiling in the NCAA tournament? You know, for a team that's really struggled to score the ball away from home, it's probably not as high, and that's okay. Like, it's a different conversation, right? And again, we have our fun with Georgia, but sure, they're an NCAA tournament team right now. I think, again, my thing has just been you don't want to see some of those offensive issues creep up in games where now they've hit a stretch of their schedule where it's like this is your make or break point, where if you're going to make the tournament, yes, it's nice to beat South Carolina and LSU, but like now we're getting into the games, and there's probably for Georgia no bigger game than the one on Saturday against Mississippi State, because like we said, that's a team that feels like they're not exactly, where they want to be. And so Georgia at home, can they snag that one? Because if they can, then I think if you're looking at the Torvik percentages and all that on Georgia, which were already still pretty high, weren't they, Max, to make the tournament? I don't remember where the number...
Yeah, but they're falling back.
Yeah, well... I'm curious.
Max, let's get to important stuff. I'll let you finish your sentence. Then I had a question for you, Max.
I was just gonna say, in a week where there's multiple, well, not a week, a slate with multiple top 15 matchups, right? We have Missouri A&M, we have Florida Auburn, which is top 6. Is there going to be a more intense game than this Georgia Mississippi State game, where you have Georgia potentially playing it's not a win and in game, but if you win this game, boy, oh boy, does it do wonders for your resume and just kind of lynches you into the tournament, just sinks you into the tournament a little bit more. Whereas if you lose this, now you're looking like, oh my gosh, guys, we're going to have some must-win games here. I mean, I feel it. And you got Mississippi State coming off the week off, probably the most pissed off Chris Jans has ever been in his whole life. They want to win more than anything. This game is, man, I just feel like both of these teams want this one bad. Not that anyone else doesn't, but man, just the way that these two teams have gone into this one.
Yeah, we've got two of those. One Vandy, Texas, and this one in State. Oh, State's in pretty good shape right now, but not playing super well. Max, what did the bully ball committee think last night of Samto Cyril?
Do you see his one swat where it was like a volleyball spike?
I didn't see it, but I was reading Twitter a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hey, Samto Cyril was the only freshman to make the preseason bully ball team. And he's proven why he was the only freshman on that list. Yeah, he's fantastic. The whole entire Georgia front court, honestly, could be on a bully ball team. It's going to be a shame that you're going to have like R.J. Godfrey not on that list, or Somto Thiero, depending on whoever you leave out. But Georgia, the committee likes what they see from the Georgia front court.
Yeah. Again, nice to win your home games, and now we just I mean, Saturday's game's huge. What a big game that is.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see who we all pick in that game, Georgia Mississippi State. We know who Chris is picking, but I'm curious to see who Max and I pick in that game. It's going to be interesting, I think, between those two. But yep, nice win for Georgia. Great second half, and they just gotta keep building on this, and like we said, hold serve at home, and then find a way to maybe sneak one or two of these road wins, and they'll be sitting in a good spot heading into the SEC tournament, where again, you can still pick up quality wins. Just a matter is the committee going to actually care. That's the big question. So for LSU, meanwhile, just quickly, and we're not going to spend too much time on this, but yeah, they're in a tough spot. They turn around, play Ole Miss at home on Saturday, then go to Arkansas, Oklahoma. And there's just not a lot of wins out there, I think, on the schedule the rest of the way for LSU. So could be a bit of a long rest of the season for them.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that's helping the league a little bit is that LSU and South Carolina just are not knocking off any of these, teams that are just struggling to make it in the dance. Wins are tough enough to get in the SEC, and you can't afford to stumble against one of those teams. I mean, the only one between them is the one that LSU got over Arkansas, which now feels like a fluke.
I think where Arkansas was the time. I mean, I don't know if it was a fluke necessarily.
Right. But if you play it again, I think we think it goes different.
Oh, sure.
Would be a better way to put it.
Now, yeah.
Yeah. LSU is not a 30% favorite to win any remaining game other than South Carolina. That's in Baton Rouge. It is a 61% favorite to win that one.
Well, I'll say this, though. We say all this. South Carolina's 0-9, and how many teams have they almost beaten? Had one possession to beat. So I think we can say LSU's got no chance maybe against some of these teams, but I don't know. We've seen this too many times in the league this year. Where is it going to shock us if all of a sudden LSU sneaks up on an Ole Miss on Saturday, or sneaks up on an A&M to finish the season, something like that? It probably shouldn't, just based on the way the league's gone, because the team that's 0-9 is probably 4 possessions away from being 4-5. So, just the margin for error this year.
I don't know what's going on with Victorious Miller, because he was out for 3 games, then came back, barely touched the floor against Auburn, was kind of like he's available if you need him, but he's really not ready. Then plays 19 minutes against Texas 5 days ago and has a decent game, has 9 points, and then not on the injury report for Georgia, but doesn't get any time. Blake, you had put out the tweet a few weeks ago about how Miller offensively his numbers were hanging around some of the better freshmen in this league that we highlight more often. So you combine something going on with Victorious Miller plus no Jalen Reed, and you're just in a spot where there's not much you can do at this point in the season. And I feel bad for Matt McMahon, because you go 2-16 year one, you go 9-9 last year and pick up a few big time wins. I remember that Kentucky win that they got at home, I think it was at the buzzer. And then the injuries set you right back again in year 3. So it's just, It's unfortunate.
Yeah, I'd forgotten they were 9-9 last year. That seems forever ago. How are we feeling about the direction of that program? Because I know Matt McMahon took over a weird situation with Will Wade's departure and all that, but they were 2-16 year one in the league, maybe headed for another year like that. And look, he lit it up at Murray State. I know it's a place that a lot of people win. I'm just having a hard time knowing what to do about that job. Like his freshman recruiting was pretty good. If you can keep those guys around, I feel like they've got a little something to build on. But that also is kind of a tough job right now in this era with NIL where, whatever doesn't go to football, you got to, for whatever it matters, women's basketball program that's lit the world on fire. And you got a baseball team that won a Natty 2 years ago and could win it again this year. It is just a kind of a weird time to have that job.
All right. Well, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to let you guys get into that because I've got to hop off. But before we do, I'm going to give you, come on. There's something we got to talk about before I hop off. And that, of course, one is bracket bids, as we know.
Nice.
Come on. We're talking about brackets. Is Arkansas going to make the tournament? If you think they are going to make the tournament and you decide, hey, they're in, I'm taking them all the way to the national championship. Probably something I would do. But don't do that probably just yet. But you can take your college hoops experience to the next level with bracket bids. Enter into that free pick'em contest or start an auction draft league with friends, family, or coworkers. Everyone starts with the same bidding dollars. Up to you to outwit and outbid your league mates. To secure the teams you think will go the distance, choose from multiple scoring models, including upset bonuses to reward those bold picks. Track your teams with live in-game scoring. Watch the standings shift in real time. Further your team's advance, the higher you climb the league standings. For league play, use that promo code SC16 for 40% off SC16. That's the promo code. Download the Bracket Bids app today or visit them at bracketbids.com. All right. And then, perhaps, hopefully, as you guys talk about this LSU job, you don't have anyone moving just yet, but if you decide to have someone moving,
out of here.
Well, they can move with Sanders Logistics because you know that Sanders Logistics, your friends and mine, formerly known as Ted R. Sanders Moving, a leader among moving companies in Nashville, Tennessee, and the surrounding area. Their team of professional movers are focused on delivering efficient, hassle-free moving at an affordable price. Whether you're moving across town or across the country, Sanders Logistics has you covered. Visit them at tedrsandersmoving.com. All right. Please don't fire anyone when I hop off, okay?
No promises.
All right.
Be safe.
Everyone, back later. Predictions. We've already recorded the ones for today. Other games will go up tomorrow. Yes, Sam, I've heard some rumors too. Chris Lee apparently has applied for basketball jobs. So, all right. I'll see you guys.
So I was looking at I was kind of looking at Matt McMahon, looking back to Murray State and just kind of seeing, I think they are going to, I don't think they're going to get, move on from him or anything like that anytime soon. Because when you look at his recruiting from last year, they did have a lot of a good class. Victorious Miller's been good. Robert Miller's been good. And Corey Chest has probably been the best out of them. And I think all of them right now are playing in roles that, are a little bit more than what they originally anticipated given the injuries. They've got to step up. You look at LSU's incoming recruiting class of just freshmen, he's got 3 4-stars coming in. So you have those guys gain a little bit more experience. You get looking at next year, you'll have a good sophomore class. You'll have Damian Collins as a senior. You'll have 3 4-stars coming in, and then you got to hit 1 or 2 in the portal like you normally do with Jordan Wright last year, with Cam Carter this year. Going to have to make a splash. But I mean, this is, McMahon's shown he can recruit. He got Ja Morant to Murray State. He got KJ Williams to Murray State. I feel like he's just gotten in year 3, Chris, especially having it be in year 3 to have that step back. When you took the jump from year 1 to year 2 to fall back after you improve in year 2, it's a bad look. But I really feel like injuries have a lot to do with this.
Yeah, I feel like too, when LSU won its biggest success, a lot of times, scandal followed, I guess is the only way I know to put it. We know about Will Wade. I do think NIL may have sort of leveled the playing field down there a little bit. I just don't know what to think of that job right now, to be honest. It's not a place where people stay excited about basketball for long periods of time. It's probably your 4th of 4 sports right now. I think the women have probably passed it, given what Kim Mulkey has done. But I mean, he has, like you said, and I'm trying to there's not a 5th year scenario for Cam Carter, is there?
Well, I wouldn't put it past him these days. Who knows?
I can't keep up anymore. There was no JUCO for him. I'd forgotten he started at Mississippi State.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm not exactly sure. The thing with LSU is it's just like what do you want to put weight into? Like, do you think if they had Jalen Reed and they had Victorious Miller, like how many more wins would that really be? Is another question, right? Like how much of a difference is that? Maybe they're instead of being, a 1-win team in SEC play, maybe you grab that Vandy game at home, but like where else are you really going to find wins for this team?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's better, but I think it's marginally better because I'm looking at them. They're the 307th in the country at three-point shooting. So when I think of them, the first thing I think of is they need more scoring punch. It's a guards league this year where you got, a lot of teams that got 4 or 5 really good guards, and I think that's one of the places where they fall glaringly short of what everyone else has.
Well, they finished third in the SEC in three-point shooting percentage last year as a team. Like, they were a good three-point shooting team. Remember, they had Tyrell Ward, who was really good, and Jordan Wright could really shoot it. That's another thing, though. Like, the whole Tyrell Ward, like, just head-scratching scenario. You have a guy take a big sophomore breakout game and, is one of the better three-point shooters on the team. He was the 6th best three-point shooter in the league last year. In SEC play, he shot 46% from three, 33 of 72, Tyrell Ward. And then like a week before the season, we just hear he left the team. He's not going to be a part of LSU this year. But, okay, that changes things. Just confusing situation there.
Yeah, I mean, they've got Cam Carter's had a nice year, good player. One of the more underrated guys in this league. At LSU been better, we'd be talking about him more. But beyond that, it's just volume guys. And like, do you hit a heater with Jordan Sears or someone like that? Do you get a double-double out of Corey Chest? I just don't think that they've got the mid-range roster talent that the rest of the league has. I mean, a lot of teams have got a Cam Carter, but you go 2 down, and they just don't have a complimentary guy. Like in Florida, for example, high bar. They've got Clayton, but they've also got Elijah Martin. And I think that's where LSU starts to separate is just the guard depth there. And quality guys who can go get you buckets consistently just is not competitive with the, even some of the bottom half teams.
In the league?
Yes.
Yeah. All right, well, we've given the Tigers of LSU enough of our gripes. Where do we want to hop to next? Chat, you guys let us know. I mean, it was a bit of a, we covered the Missouri-Tennessee game in a live stream last night, and then we just had the 2. Any questions about tonight's, or not tonight's? Jeez, this weekend.
Thank God there's no tonight. I need a breather.
Oh, I know. I think
I've got practice to coach, so I don't get a breather. But anyway,
we got some big time matchups here coming up on the weekend. Big time games, guys. Big time games. Okay, here's a question, Chris. Just while some chats are coming in. Texas Vandy is a big bash. You're asking for Memphis. This is an SEC channel. We're not going to really touch on the Tigers of Memphis much. Chris, Vandy, Texas this weekend. I was talking about Georgia, Mississippi State, just meaning the world to those 2 teams. You just get the feeling that Vandy really needs a pick-me-up here.
Yeah, I'm starting to get really concerned about their defense and their height. They've been awful in second halves of games. Teams have just shot lights out. Maybe some of that's bad luck, but I just don't think they're super gifted on that end. Like the steal aspect, like if they're not getting those and getting easy buckets, they're going to struggle. I don't know what to make of Texas. I felt like Texas, we were starting to figure it out with them. And then last night, just didn't look that great, to be honest with you, after what it did to LSU, which it feels now more about LSU maybe than it was about Texas. But Mark Byington has had them in a spot this year when their back is against the wall. They played pretty well. That game's at home where they've knocked off 2 teams in a row. I think this is a game where like the the winner comes out of it feeling pretty good. And by the way, Ken Palm's got it a 50-50 game, pretty much. The loser, especially if it's Vandy, feels like they're in a little bit of trouble.
I think Vandy is kind of built to beat a team like Texas. Me and Zach, I don't think Zach's in here right now in the chat, but Zach and I like to call Texas tough 2 Texas because that's where they get pretty much all their offense from. They don't really have a front court that's going to be able to really take advantage of Vandy being undersized. I think Texas is not a team built to take advantage of Vanderbilt's flaws is what I'm trying to say. I think it plays right into Tyler Tanner. You can have Magnon on Trey Johnson in those minutes. You got those scrappy defenders, those scrappy guard defenders. I just think they'll make life difficult for the Longhorns.
That's a good point. Like the teams that have been giving Vanderbilt trouble lately. Let me just fact check this. Florida's, we talked about their height. Oklahoma, that was a little different story. Oklahoma just shot the lights out, like 70-something% in the second half. Alabama, a couple of weeks back, we know about their height. I mean, Caden Shedrick is a force to contend with, but other than that, they don't have a load of those guys.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like you're playing Florida again.
Right. Caleb's wondering where's the live stream reaction to Mizzou UT game. It'll be on the channel or any of I put it up on the podcast feeds last night. So if you're in the car, you're at work, you want to listen to the podcast, it's up there too. But should be up on the channel last night. Caleb there. So.
Hey, we didn't talk much about Texas from last night.
Yeah.
Anything you take away from that?
Oh, like scale of like, are we worried about Texas moving forward?
Right.
I mean, a little bit. I mean, that was not an 8-point game. They were getting dominated.
No.
They were getting worked. And then over the course of the second half, being in the double bonus for what felt like an hour, and some big Jordan Pope threes there at the end when the game gets just chopped up into all the, the reviews and the free throws. Texas is able to get it back down to 8. But, I mean, they clawed back, but I just felt like watching that game, like the eye test of that game was just Arkansas worked them pretty good. So I think it says more about Arkansas, though. Like, I don't think Texas is bad.
I think it does. I think sometimes Trey Johnson needs to grow up a little bit.
22 shots.
Not just that, but just the emotional stuff during the game at times. He gets a little chippy. He gets I don't know if talking's a word, but it just some things with his body language and stuff I'm not always crazy about. So that's the thing I watched him. Like, I mean, he's guy's going to play in the NBA for a long time. But he's also 18 right now?
Right.
Yeah.
Texas is a very momentum built team. If they get a few stops and they hit a few mid-range in a row, maybe they get a 3 or something like that. Then the next mid-range that Trey Johnson pulls up for when he gets to his spot, you just know it's going in.
Yeah.
The crowd's getting into it, and it's just like that's the thing with Texas is they can get their shot whenever they want on every possession. If Tremont Mark, Kaluma, Trey Johnson, whoever it is, wants to find their way to the elbow, find their way right around the free throw line and pull up for a mid-range jumper, they can get that every single possession. So when they're making those, they're a very tough team to beat. You can see why they only lost by 5 at home to Auburn, only lost by 4 to Tennessee. But when they're not making those mid-ranges and the defense isn't there and they're playing a team with a big front court, kind of like Florida, you can go and lose 60 to 84. Or you're playing a team like Arkansas that's playing as desperate as they've ever played. That front court is looking as physical as it has looked all year. They don't have Boogie Flan. They're playing big time. No one's on the floor under 6'4", 6'3". You lose at home by 8. I think Texas is a very streaky type of team, very momentum-based team.
Are we surprised Tremont Marques not had a bigger year for them? I mean, he's been fine, but he's not been what he was a year ago.
No, he hasn't. Well, he was injured, remember, coming off the injury.
Oh, I'd forgotten that. Okay.
I feel like we really downplay, how much that can mean for an entire season. It's so.
I don't downplay that.
No, I didn't mean that. I meant like you're
that
injured
was funny.
in the preseason.
Right. You fell right into that one.
Well, I meant a different way. I meant
I know. I'm just giving you a hard time.
You're injured in November and you've been playing the entire season, but then like the coach comes out in a press conference like with a few weeks remaining in the season and they give out a quote like, well, so-and-so has really, he hasn't been practicing the entire year. He just goes through, warm-ups and just gets a few shots up, and then I'm surprised he's even out there. And you're like, well, I didn't know that's what the situation was looking like. Like with Matt Morrell. Morrell's not even practicing right now for Ole Miss. He's not participating.
Yeah.
So like, I don't know what's going on with Tremont Marques. He seems like he's still getting bothered by stuff.
Well, see, that's why I am the injury pessimist, because they don't ever tell you at the time, oh, it was really bad. He couldn't do this. He couldn't. You find out after the fact when you're like, why has this guy been so off his game all year? I just feel like we never get the truth on most of that.
Like Adou.
Right.
Right. Clearly, he's not anywhere close to healthy. Go back. I'm telling you, I know we get on Adou a little bit because of how he performed against Edey and Kalkbrenner in some of the bigger matchups that he was played into, but just go look at some of like Tennessee's big time SEC games last year. They were in a bunch of thrillers. Adou's putting up a double-double. Adou's their second leading scorer in most of these games. So,
well, when we did our fantasy basketball thing last year, Max, I mean, like we picked 5 guys each or 7? I mean, like he got picked probably every time. And he was usually in the top, like I don't know that he ever got to round 4 in any time we did it. I mean, maybe if Tennessee had a midweek off, he did, but other than that, like we consistently were taking him because he did so much stuff for them a year ago.
Yeah, I mean, last year, he was the number 4 offensive rebounder in the SEC, number 11 defensive rebounder, and he had the number 3 block rate. I mean, the guy was an absolute force down low in the majority of games. It just fell apart late, and, the injury hasn't bounced back. He hasn't looked like anything like he was last year. So who knows? I mean, Calipari coming out and saying already, in first week of February that he's still not feeling well. I mean, if he's not feeling well now, Chris, is he ever? I mean, we got a month of the season left.
Well, I was beginning to think about Johnell Davis, though, too.
True.
So, and Mark did have 18 points, by the way, circling back to him 2 games ago. So maybe there's a breakthrough coming with him.
Yeah. We'll see.
Scoreboard watching around the country last night, just some other places. Gosh, Rutgers beat Illinois. I had not caught that. Oregon lost again to Michigan, which I think is a team that probably a lot of teams don't want to face in March. And anything nationally catch your eye like that's got some SEC relevance to it in terms of like how the bubble shakes out? Sorry, I kind of sprung that one on you, but I know you watch a lot of basketball, a lot of places. So,
well, if you watched that Rutgers game, I watched the highlights, and they were just it was a game where Rutgers was hitting their threes, and it helps out. That helps out Alabama because they got the Rutgers win. So, honestly, the Big Ten doing good because they are good. I think the Big Ten's the second best league. I think the Big Ten's better than the Big 12 this year. At least depth-wise, maybe not at the very top, but the Big Ten's got a lot of teams ranked right around like 20-ish in the nation. The Big Ten, Purdue, Michigan, Illinois, Ohio State, Oregon. I mean, any Rutgers, a lot of Big Ten teams moving up in their own like analytical rankings is what's keeping the SEC as a conference rising, because we played so many Big Ten teams in the non-conference. So the Big Ten getting better has made the SEC look better when you're looking back at the non-conference numbers. But as of last night, like anything, I think that just the biggest thing that happened this week so far was St. John's putting their stamp down on the Big East. That really helps Georgia. So
I'm browsing bracket matrix this morning, which has now been updated. Mississippi State has fallen to the last 6. Oklahoma the first 9. Texas the first 10. Vanderbilt the last 10. Georgia the second 11. So we're at what, 13?
I mean, just think about that, though. You just said, what'd you say Georgia was?
The second, number 11.
Okay, Georgia's the second, number 11, and they beat the cream of the crop in the Big East in the non-conference.
Right.
They beat St. John's. So I mean, what if St. John's gets like a high seed up there, and they're not gonna? I don't think they would get matched up against Georgia, but a team like Georgia, and you look back and you're like, well, wait, Georgia played a team like this on the neutral court already. They beat them, and they're an 11.
Well, we have our fun with Georgia, but that's the point I've been making. Like, how much of this is Georgia's not very good, or whatever label you want to put on Georgia, which I don't believe, or how much of it is just what you get every night in this league?
That's where it's like impossible to figure out, because I mean, we're talking about we're pretty hard on LSU right now. They're 82nd in KenPom.
It's all relative.
Last year so LSU's 82nd in KenPom right now. Last year, Georgia, Ole Miss, Arkansas, Vandy, and Mizzou all finished worse than that.
Yeah.
So,
well, it's a league where if you're just a little behind everybody else in talent, you're going to be a lot behind everybody else in talent. And I think LSU and South Carolina are proving that with one win combined.
Yeah.
The gravity of it's just too much to overcome. But yeah, and by the way, Arkansas is way out in bracket matrix.
Has it updated though?
Well, it's updated through the 4th and the 5th, but I wonder. Sometimes when you win some games, and some of these didn't update until the 3rd and the 2nd. So I actually some go back to the 30th of January. That may be dragging them down a little bit, but they only got placed in one bracket. Sometimes when you are a little late to the party like Arkansas does, there's a little bit of lag, a week or two, where it takes people some time to catch up with what you've done.
I think we can firmly say Arkansas is a bubble team right now.
Yes, has to be.
You're talking about the bubble. You're talking about first 4, second 4, right around there. Win a game or two, you're in. Win a game or lose a game or two, you can't afford. Arkansas is in that conversation now, whereas 2 weeks ago they were not in that conversation. And yes, you are completely correct. Still have a long way to go, do the Hogs do. Yes, it's a long month, especially for teams on the bubble. However, 2 weeks ago, we're not in this conversation.
Yeah.
So it just goes to show, man, just kind of like looking at the glass half empty, kind of what Mississippi State did, and where they just you lose a few games just real quick, and the people's tune, mine included, can change on you within a matter of 2 games.
Yeah.
In this league, just look at Arkansas, just a Saturday and a Wednesday, literally a 5-day split, and you can completely change your season. That's kind of the cool thing. I mean, you can look at it. You can look at this league 2 ways. You can look at it as it's historically difficult and it's just absolutely brutal. But with that comes a lot of opportunity that you can completely turn around your season really quickly with. So,
where are they in the net? I'm looking that up. They're 44. I mean, see, here's the thing. They may have. You can make an argument that they have passed. Let me fact check this.
Ooh, I wish Blake was here for this one.
See, you can make an argument that they have passed Texas and Vanderbilt because, okay, big wins for Texas. A&M, Missouri, at Oklahoma, and then they did nothing out of conference. Big wins for Vanderbilt. Tennessee and Kentucky at home. Big wins for Arkansas. The Michigan win continues to be big for them. Everybody kind of forgot about it because of what happened since. They beat Georgia. Again, team that's in the field today, and then win at Kentucky, win at Texas. I could even argue that I'd put Arkansas ahead of Texas and Vandy right now.
Okay, I'm so glad you said that because Sam here brings up a fantastic little point here. Very bubbly behavior from Georgia and Arkansas lately. Okay, if I had to put you on the spot and someone hands you a note, Chris, and they say, Georgia, Arkansas, only one gets in. Which one are you saying? It's this one, my friend. They will be in the tournament. I know it's tough, and don't put it much. I know there's not much confidence behind this pick, this take or whatever. But just for the hypothetical, just because the comment sparked the idea, who do you think's got the better chance? Bulldogs, Hogs.
All right, Georgia's schedule gets a lot easier. I'll tell you, I'll probably take them to beat State. Spoiler alert, Saturday. Gosh.
It's a great conversation. It's a great question.
Man, that schedule. They get Vandy at home. I would take them there because they, again, been pretty good at home. Man, I don't know if they got the firepower to hang with Florida. That is in Athens, so you never know. They've beaten a team that's high-powered offensively there once in Kentucky, so there's that. Missouri, that's in Athens, but my goodness, Missouri, the way that team looked in Knoxville last night, despite losing. And then we go to Arkansas. And by the way, I'm thinking through this. I had not considered this at all until you asked me.
Well, the thing I think we can dumb it down for Georgia. The next 3 home games, they've got Mississippi State, Missouri, and Florida. The projections on those games is from KenPom, the projections for Mississippi State, and that this will change game by game. So just for the argument's sake, they'll win by 3 against Mississippi State at home, just projections. Win by 1 against Missouri, lose by 5 against Florida. Those will change. What I'm trying to get at is these 3 games are all going to be projected to be a 1-possession game either way. Florida too. If they go 2-1 in any way, somehow they go 2-1 against Mississippi State, Missouri, and Florida, they would then have 6 conference wins, and you're going to have to steal one on the road. If they steal that South Carolina one on the road, they're 7-11, and they would have picked up 2 wins at least against Mississippi State, Missouri, or Florida. I think that gets them in.
KenPom's got them both going 7-11 in the league, and I think that's what Vanderbilt is too.
They got to split 2 of 3. Does Georgia the next 3 home games? Got to win 2 of them. If they don't do that, I think it might be over. But
KenPom has got at least 4 teams going 7-11 in the league now. Yeah, Georgia, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Vandy.
Man, now we've gotten to the point now where in the season where, I mean, every game is obviously every win matters. You know, the coaches always say a win in November is graded the same way as a win in February is to the committee. So, you know, they always bring that line up. But man, we're getting to the point in the season where just like, whew, these games just mean a little bit more now. Georgia, Mississippi State, Vandy, Texas, Mizzou, A&M. Just, I mean, I could go down the list. They mean a lot. And we will have it covered for you guys. Predictions coming up on the channel. Reaction streams, watch-alongs. We got it all covered, don't we, Chris?
We do. The true answer to your question is more I look at it, the more confused I get.
Yep.
I don't have a good gut feeling. I mean, in Arkansas, as good as Arkansas has looked, as much as we like the talent, let's not forget it's just been 1 week that this team's been doing this. Georgia, for all Georgia's flaws, Georgia's not had just an awful stretch of basketball all year.
Right.
I mean, had the bad game at Florida, did have, well, okay, I guess you can say 2 out of 3 bad games at Florida, at Alabama. But those are teams that can just beat you to a pulp in their place.
I mean, imagine they snagged the win against Auburn. You caught them without Broome at home, but still, if you lost by 2. If they win that game, we're talking about Athens like it's a fortress.
Yeah, they're not a good road team, and I think that's part of your issue is they are enough, and they've got 4-4 home and away. So, yeah. All right, Max, I think I'm done if you are.
Yep. Great show.
All right, got more stuff coming up, predictions, working on baseball stuff. We're putting up interviews with coaches. We'll have some football content today. If you're watching, don't subscribe, please do. God bless you. Have a great day. For Max Barr and Blake Lovell, I'm Chris Lee, your host at Southeastern 16. God bless you. We'll see you again soon with more SEC sports.